The following transmission is an utterly nonsense podcast exclusive presentation. Cue that motherfucking 8-bit intro.
On the last episode of Utterly Nonsense.
So here's my main problem, right?
Sure.
So they cast The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, as Black Adam.
Which I think was a brilliant
God,
casting choice.
really?
Well, that's old news. Like they announced that
Forgot about
he was
that.
attached
I would
to
have
that
preferred him
project
to be
in, like,
Lobo.
2012.
You know Lobo?
Lobo.
I could see
Oh,
that.
Lobo.
I will
that would've
say,
been hilarious.
Dwayne Johnson looks exactly like Black Adam. Like,
Well, I don't
looks
know
perfect for
which
the part.
iteration, though, because Black Adam has hair and Dwayne Johnson apparently went bald.
Well, he shaves it.
He literally
Because he
shaves
went
it
bald.
Because he's
Sure.
so juiced.
Well, he's what, over 50 now,
Oh,
or
he's not even near
he's
50.
he's got to be close to 50.
I always thought he
still
looked
not
good with
50.
hair, so I'm
I,
just
honestly, he
assuming-
looks good with a shaven head. You know, I
I'm
think
just
he
tired
pulls it
of it.
off. But
Well, anyway, what was I saying?
I mean, he's roided out. We gotta realize that, though.
sure.
There's no way he could get that bill when he was already like insanely in shape when he was a wrestler.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, they all have to take some kind of extra thing to get
like-
that big.
Well, it
Yeah,
might not
it's
necessarily be
impossible.
steroids, but there's a lot of muscle growth supplements that could get you to that point. You know.
Yeah, name them that are legal and that
like-
actually work.
Steroids aren't a shortcut to getting big. They're just a way to get big
Yeah.
faster
Sure.
I mean,
a little
fair.
bit.
Yeah.
To get bigger. Well, anyway. So, of
Add
course,
the
you have...
muscle on the muscle.
For what you're saying now, Dwayne Johnson is freaking huge. There's no actor who could physically rival him as Shazam.
What about John Cena?
Oh my God, John Cena! I would pay so much money.
Wouldn't
That would be the
wouldn't that be
meanest
great?
movie of
Would
all
pay
time.
so
I,
much
I would
money.
love to see that actually, John Cena as Shazam, but we're stuck with Zach Levi. So who do you think's gonna?
And I'm
be
coming
cast
on
as,
you like I'm thunder and lightning. Is that the lyric? Coming down on you chumps like I'm thunder and lightning.
I don't want to.
John Cena's theme.
Oh, yeah.
Thunder and lightning. He could have been Shazam. Shazam.
That would have been
It's
perfect.
John Cena.
Instead, we got fucking
Okay,
Chuck.
I'm convinced that's who should have been Shazam.
And now, the continuation of Utterly Nonsense. So, big news. Over the weekend, we had San Diego Comic-Con, and there were a lot of big announcements, particularly with DC stuff. Not so
Yeah.
much Marvel.
Well, so if it's not surprising already, I'm sure we probably wrote it in the title already. This is going to be a two-parter.
Two-parter.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, there's just so much shit to cover just between, like, I mean, DC's obviously the big stuff. There was just a number of awesome trailers, a number of great releases for television. So DC really took the cake with this one, and this is going to be the focus of the first part. Second part's going to be everything else, just because we can somehow fit all of that into another episode. So,
Yeah, DC versus everything else. DC versus the world.
Yeah, so I mean, as John just mentioned, and as you've probably noticed from that initial preview we somehow seamlessly edited into the beginning, we did discuss DC pretty heavily on the last episode, mainly the topic of how the hell is DC going to survive after Justice League.
Yeah, talking about the movies in particular there.
Yeah, well, that's, I think, what we meant, DCEU, DC Extended Universe, which we've talked about a number of times before, so, you know...
Strangely enough,
Yeah.
Comic-Con is more about the movies than it is the comics now.
Well, I mean, you never really know
Movies
what
and
it's
television.
like on the floor of the thing unless you've actually attended. You know, we were talking, we've both been to the New York one before. You know, I went like 5 times in a row, and very heavy emphasis on the comics, like to the point that...
Yeah, well, I mainly mean the press conferences and all the
Yeah.
announcements that get made.
But at least for the first couple I went to, I don't remember there being panels, or at least they weren't as interesting or as much of a draw as the comics themselves, you know?
Yeah. I don't remember there being any either when I went, or either that or I just didn't know about them.
Yeah, well, that was my impression. Lot of comics, a lot of local vendors. Weirdly enough, a lot of book signings. Like, you know, Diary of a
Yeah.
Wimpy Kid? You
Yeah.
know that series? So I actually met that author like right as he released the first book. Like he was at the New York Comic Con. I think it was the third anniversary or something.
Very
Or
interesting.
third annual Comic Con, I mean. And yeah, so super nice guy. There was literally no line to meet him because no one knew who the hell he was. And I had him sign my copy of the book because I for some reason had my copy of the book. And I went a year later after the books had taken off. Super nice guy, first of all, Jeff Kinney, but he recognized me actually because I was the one kid who went to see him that year.
Well, how about that?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a big reader, so whenever I read the book right away and knew there was something special about it. It sort of blends this, it is a sort of a comic in the same sense that it uses visual images interlaced with writing in the same way that a comic does. So it seems like a pretty logical step to have that sort of thing at Comic-Con. But
when I went there, names that I remember as far as comics, I know there was Jim Lee, who was one of the artists there. I didn't get to see him. I think also Mark Waid, the writer, and the one I did get to see, George Perez, one of my favorite comic artists. I got to see him and got him to sign my collected edition of Avengers vs. JLA, which, believe it or not, was the last time that DC crossed over with Marvel in anything, and that was back in 2003. So it's been 15 years
I'm
since
shocked
they
that it was
collaborated.
that recent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
know.
the other like major celebrity I met, and I think I met a couple people, but I've probably forgotten a decent amount of them. Met Lou Ferrigno at the first one I went to, and like you can there's a picture of me somewhere, like my mom probably has it, of little 10-year-old me with big 6'4", barely functional Lou Ferrigno.
Did you shake his hand?
Yeah, I did, and he seemed
How big was
kind of
his
nice,
hand?
but well, like my perspective might be a little off. I remember I'm having pretty big hands, but to be fair, I was a small kid at 10, so
Yeah, but I mean, he is the Hulk, so
yeah, of course. Of course, you
Guy's
put him next to like
huge.
Ruffalo's Hulk, and he's a midget by comparison.
those are two different worlds.
Which I feel like if I went up to him now, he wouldn't be too huge. Like he's only a couple inches bigger than me, but
I think he's still massive though. Like he's still pretty muscular.
yeah, I mean, I think he's like 60 now, right? Like he's getting up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, he looks really good for his age, at least from what I've seen. So we've talked a decent amount about Comic-Con itself. Let's talk about the actual trailers and the outcome of this event.
Yeah. So, well, will DC have a future? Well, let's look. Aquaman trailer. What are your first impressions?
It was pretty cool. I've watched it like 5 times at this point, so I can tell you right now, first time through, it didn't really impress me too much. Going off of JL, JL was obviously just a CGI mess in some spots. Like you could tell some spots were clearly green screened, which it's of course it's a blockbuster superhero movie directed by Zack Snyder. Of course you're gonna get that, but It was just so obvious to the fact that you can't look past it, and there were some spots in the trailer where I could got that same impression, but
Yeah.
upon rewatching, I sort of looked past it. The CGI sort of looked a little more natural once I sort of got acclimated to it.
Yeah. I was just gonna use that word.
Yeah,
Your eyes had to acclimate. Because when I looked at it, the first thing I thought of was the joke from Seinfeld, where it's like, "Hey George, the ocean called. They're running out of shrimp, except this time they're running out of CG budget."
Mm-hmm.
Because there's so much of it packed into the trailer. Because I mean, it's all underwater, so basically the whole time there's going to be some kind of
you
effect.
have to have CG. You have to at least have a couple filters on,
Yeah.
So it's not shocking, and once you look past that, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, you pretty much have to look past it, because how else were they going to do it?
Yeah. Aside from that, the only real criticism I have of the trailer is Jason Momoa's narration. Just I don't know. It feels unnatural at the beginning. Again, I look past that upon subsequent watchings. Yeah, I mean, looks pretty cool. I'm excited for it. I'll definitely see it. It looks like a step in the right direction for DC.
Yeah, I didn't see anything concerning about it. I mean, I'm kind of looking forward to it. I'm not really wowed. But what I did see, what was it? Aquaman, his brother. I think that was a storyline that they used in one of the Justice League cartoon episodes.
Yes.
So you have him, you have
name?
Mira,
Ocean Master, and Black Manta, of course.
Ocean Man,
Ocean Master, Master.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ocean Man's a song.
Otherwise known as Owlman Under the Water.
Yeah, he does look like Owlman.
You know why?
It's weird.
You probably do
Why?
know why, because it's literally the same guy. Patrick Wilson,
right.
same actor as
no,
Owlman
I
in
thought you meant
Watchmen.
I thought you meant Owlman from that alternate DC Earth with the crime syndicate.
Yeah, I mean there is that too. I do sort of get that same impression. But...
No, the other guy's Night Owl.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
not
yeah.
Owlman.
You're right. Yeah.
But, yeah, you see Black Manta, he looks cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
honestly, the costume looks better than I was expecting a real life replica of that costume to look like.
Yeah, and Aquaman has some gold. I don't know if he has green, but there's like a toy reveal or some kind of statue where he has the full on orange and gold. So I don't know. He might have it in the movie.
I don't know. Honestly, I'm fine with his look as is. It's pretty clear that just with the casting of Jason Momoa, they're trying to basically separate themselves as far from like the Super Friends era Aquaman as possible.
I'm just glad they're separating him from the conventional Aquaman of like now and the past couple decades because he's a big asshole in the comics.
Yeah. I mean,
this guy looks a little bit more, carefree, kind of.
Yeah.
He looks like he's more willing to have fun. So at the end of the trailer, he does the same thing in Justice League where he jumps out of a plane. And he's like, "Whoa!"
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely got that sort of asshole-ish quality to him. You sort of do get that impression from Justice League. But he does seem sort of like a nice guy. He seems like a kind of guy you can get a beer with.
Yeah, it's a bit more toned down. Like, he's not so high and mighty yet because he's not a king.
Yeah. Well, he's going to be. Like, it's pretty obvious. Yeah. I made the joke.
Black Panther.
I made the joke right away. It's Black Panther Under the Sea. Right down to the reveal of Atlantis. It's basically shot for shot the opening to Wakanda. But I'm anxious for it. So Shazam was really
Shazam.
I gotta say that just appealed to me. That blew me away.
It did. It did tickle the ivories a little bit.
Like I did not expect it to be that good of a trailer. Like right off the
I feel
bat,
like it's PG Deadpool.
Yeah, it sort of is. It's
sort of because
hero.
since it's a kid becoming a superhero, it's kind of poking a little fun at all the superhero tropes.
Yeah, I mean he definitely
but
doesn't
it's not
take
doing
himself
it
too seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I think we kind of expected as soon as they cast Zach Levi in the role. As soon as you cast a comedic actor to play a major superhero, of course you're going to have that sort of comedic effect. It's not shocking given some of the relative campiness of the character, exactly like what we got from him. We made a podcast like a while ago. I think this was back in November. Like as soon as they cast Zach Levi, I was skeptical about the thing.
We reacted.
I still think John Cena physically would be the build you'd want for that character, and I do know how like ridiculous that sounds to people who haven't heard our original podcast on the topic, but we do know Dwayne Johnson's going to be playing Black Adam at some point. I wouldn't be shocked.
Actually, what we were wrong on was I don't think Black Adam's going to be in this movie.
Right now, they're saying he's not going to be. I wouldn't rule past it for there to be a post-credit scene. Well, obviously there was going to be a post-credit scene, but whether or not that's Black Adam is the question. We said in the previous one, they're sort of building up to this in Justice League. We saw the post-credit scene in Justice League where, you have Luthor and Deathstroke meeting up, sort of forming this team. Black Adam could be another part of that. Like, realistically,
I hope so.
I
hope they don't waste them on Suicide Squad.
No, they're not going to. No way.
Because I had heard that he might be in that.
The fact that they're teasing Shazam as this major enemy just makes me think they're not going to waste Black Adam in any other capacity than, like, being his main adversary in the future.
Yeah.
And that'll be a fun fight to see. Like, Dwayne Johnson versus Zach Levi. Realistically, like, come on, Dwayne Johnson has it in the bag.
Should we talk about his costume?
Yeah, sure.
His costume is directly taken from, I think it was Justice League War, the DC animated movie.
Right.
The way he looked in it's almost like they took it from the cartoon and brought it into 3D.
Yeah.
And that's how it looks.
So, I mean,
Although I mean, while it looks good, I think I would have preferred the New 52 look in the symbol specifically, because it had like a gold outline and bright like lightning energy inside of it.
Yeah, I mean, so I think that's sort of what inspired this interpretation. Sort of inspired the glowing lightning bolt chest symbol for some reason. I'm not against it. It looks fine, I guess. But yeah, I definitely agree. Like, it sort of looks abnormal for a costume, you know? Like, just in all functionality. It's kind of a bizarre choice.
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of the thing to point out how out of place he is, because I think I remember the original story of Shazam being he read a comic book and it came with like a little special promotional ring and he put it on and then he said the word and that's how he met the wizard. Seriously? I could be wrong. Someone correct me.
I mean, that doesn't sound right. Like, any sort of interpretation I remember of him becoming Shazam, either in comic recaps or like various television retellings, it's always like sort of been a subway that leads to like the wizard, you know?
You know what? All right, fine. Yeah. Let's look it up right now so I don't get my facts wrong. Where's Shazam on... Where the hell is the DC wiki? Hold on. We're going to find this out and we're going to settle this. I'll forget. It was just a look at Wikipedia. Oh no, that's the whole business history. Oh, and there's a Shazam wiki now.
There's a wiki for everything, John.
A young boy chosen. What the heck is this?
So there are some interpretations where the reason he was selected was because his father was originally going to be the successor, and his father was some big-time archaeologist who had discovered a bunch of this stuff, but the father died before he could inherit the powers. So Billy was the next logical choice. At least that's some of the stuff I've read. I don't know. Did you find anything different, or?
I don't see anything right off the bat here, but
okay.
And I won't waste too much time on it. I'll just say I'm full of shit and go with what he's saying.
Okay, so moving on. I do think.
Yeah, so Shazam trailer's good.
Yeah, and the cast for Billy Batson was great. You know, definitely what I would imagine for the role. Yeah. What's next?
Titans trailer.
Yeah, I had some mixed feelings.
Oh man. Oh, it's like so painful to watch, but so funny at the same time for me.
Well, there's some really good spots about it. Like, you know, I don't know if they're calling him Dick Grayson or not. He has more in common with Jason Todd, but I do like this version of Robin.
He's definitely supposed to be Dick Grayson because you see the flying Graysons. But yeah, he acts and looks more like Jason Todd.
Yeah. Which, again, I'm not against. But yeah, go ahead.
Now, even in the comics, I'll say, Dick Grayson didn't really have a thing against Batman until he became Nightwing, because then that was after he stopped being Robin.
Right.
And for people who watch the Teen Titans cartoon, that like many, you know that Robin, who that was supposed to be Dick Grayson too, had the utmost respect for Batman. He even indirectly referred to him as his father once. So now flash to this trailer. What do we see? Where's Batman?
Fuck Batman.
Fuck Batman. But, it's the funniest freaking thing.
Well, you know, at least from what I gathered from the trailer, it seems like he's just trying to have his own identity from Batman. Even Nightwing in any traditional interpretations has always been... Like, I'm sort of thinking of the Arkham version of Nightwing. He's his own hero in his own right, but, you know, he's part of the Bat family. He still respects Batman. He still looks up to him. He still sees him as... No, fuck Batman! Honestly, that might just be more him trying to instill fear in the hearts of his enemies than, like, just outwardly disowning Batman.
By the way, did you catch that quick sound effect when he fired the grappling hook? It's the exact sound effect from the Arkham games.
I did not catch that.
Like, if you go back and watch it, listen closely, it's the exact video game sound effect. And when he hits the guy, and you hear, like, the guy make a grunt, that's like a sound effect that I recognize from an old Spider-Man Game Boy game that I played. So I don't know what they're doing.
I mean, that's kind of a nice touch, just in terms of sound design. It's subtle. I mean, it flows
sounds
really
cheap.
well, but no, I mean, I can appreciate that. You know,
Like, we could do that. We could make better sound effects, almost. I feel like
maybe.
if they're just going to do that.
In terms of the other characters, Beast Boy looks okay.
Yeah,
Jack,
we only see a
I know
quick
Jack
glimpse.
liked the look of him, which I think we need to see more of him before we can make any decisions. I'm fine with it. Raven, I don't mind aside from the fucking wig. Like, I can't unsee that. And
Here's my problem with Raven, right?
yeah.
Sometimes when I let the darkness inside, it feels good. Oh, I'm so edgy.
Yeah. I mean,
And that
they
was the
kind of got
overall
rid of
tone
Goth.
of the trailer.
They kind of made Goth Raven into Emo Raven. Not the best look for her.
It's pathetic.
But, I mean, that was sort of the interpretation in Teen Titans versus Justice League, the DC animated movie. There was a major arc in the show where, like, it revolves around her and the fact that her father is, like, basically the DC version of the devil.
Yeah, Trigon.
Yeah, so, I mean, they're sort of recycling the same storyline, which is okay. They might have a new take on it. I'll watch it. I'm at this point, I'm gonna get DC Universe. Like, I'm gonna watch.
Oh,
it,
yeah,
you know?
we should mention that. The only way you're going to be able to see this, unless you pirate it, is if you get the DC Netflix.
Starting at $8 a month.
Is that the official pricing?
Yeah, it's like actually the same price as Netflix or Amazon Prime, but
alright.
it's just one more added expense, But again, it is supposed to have like everything DC in terms of movies, TV, like throughout their entire conception.
I wonder if they'll take off the DC TV shows from Netflix now.
Maybe. I think there's probably some contractual obligations with Netflix to keep some of that stuff on, but I know Disney announced a while back that they were going to make their own streaming service, but all the Marvel shit's still on there, so who knows?
Yeah. All right, Starfire, you want to take this one?
Okay, so like when we saw the initial set photos, honestly despised her. The costume was garbage. I'm wondering why they're casting this big black chick to play, Corianne, like, arguably one of the most beautiful characters in the DC universe.
Big poofy curly hair in
Just-
place of long straight hair.
Yeah, just this really over-the-top character who looks nothing like the comic interpretation. And again, I have nothing against casting people of color to play roles that are traditionally white as long as the actor does a good job with it. But
Character's not even white though. She's like has orange skin.
she's Tamaranian, which
And people argued.
more
They said,
orange, I
"Oh, the
guess.
skin color doesn't matter because they're just gonna paint her skin orange." Well, guess what? They didn't.
yeah.
It glows orange, but it's
Yeah.
not orange.
Which, at least from what we saw in this brief glimpse, the visuals on her look decent. The whole fire effect is kind of cool, but
But she's not. Here's another funny thing. Starfire. She shoots fire, right? No, she shoots green shit. She's an alien. Why is she shooting fire? Unless I missed something.
it's a weird interpretation.
To say the least.
But yeah. So I mean, I have nothing really outwardly negative to say beyond that. Like, we haven't really seen too much of her, so I can't really judge too much. But
yeah.
what else?
Yeah, they showed mostly Robin.
yeah.
The rest were kind of just glimpses. Robin and Raven.
Which Robin, I think, is probably the standout character from this thing. He's the leader. He's
Oh, of course.
yeah. So no shot
Because
there.
fuck Batman.
And then there was
I'm the Batman. I'm Robin.
and then if you paid attention, and I watched it multiple times, so I sort of noticed it the more I watched it, there's Hawk and Dove, who were very, very minor DC characters who, for some reason, here in place of Cyborg.
Yeah.
They're very briefly in it, so I wouldn't blame you if you missed it.
That's probably DC's version of Saturday Night Live's The Ambiguously Gay Duo.
I think one of them's female, so it's not necessarily the same conception.
Because
Yeah, I think
they
so.
were in like one episode of the Justice League cartoon, and they were both male.
I mean, I might be wrong about it. I think the smaller one was female. I'm trying to think, like
DC's
what
Titans
others might be.
featuring The Ambiguously Gay Duo.
The ambiguously gay duo solving crimes. Dun-dun-dun-dun. They're ambiguously gay. Ambiguously gay.
TV Funhouse. What happened to that?
Robert Smigel left SNL a while ago. Every once in a
Oh,
while
man.
they have some sort of resurgence, but you know, yeah, I mean, the reason that went on for so long was because the guy who was the main animator behind all those, and the guy who was the puppeteer behind Triumph the what's the full name? The insult comic dog.
Oh, yeah.
So same puppeteer, same animator, Robert Smigel, who was actually a cast member of SNL from like early 90s to early 2000s. Wildly talented guy, but you would not know his name if you're not paying attention to this stuff. And, you know, he just sort of faded into obscurity. Like, you know, he still does stuff once in a while, but he's definitely not a household name.
The more you know.
Yeah, so I mean that's Titans broken down. Not much else to say really. Like it was a pretty brief glimpse. Oh, and the music sucked. Flowed decently at first, but it was just a shitty pop song on its face. What else in the way of DC? I mean there were trailers for. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
So there were trailers for each of the major DC TV shows.
I'll just run down them
Arrow,
really quick.
Go ahead.
Start with, I guess, Arrow, because that was the first show. I know you don't watch Arrow.
No, I don't.
I've been keeping up with it. The trailer looks promising. As I said, I think briefly in a previous, I think it was the Flash episode, number 22, that I said I liked how they ended season 6 with him going to prison, because that was a lot like this unused film script that they had for a Green Arrow movie. And so the trailer definitely continues that. You see him in prison. You see him with all of the bad guys he's locked up there having to survive. He has like all this scar tissue all over his body. And apparently somebody is putting on the hood and being the Green Arrow without Oliver Queen. I'm assuming it's Diggle, or it could be someone else. But so I think, though, even though the trailer looks okay, it might just be like season 6 where the first couple episodes are decent, and then the rest of the season is just littered with schlock.
Okay.
So I mean, that's my breakdown of that.
Yeah, so what else? Flash, not
Flash,
too much. It basically picked up where the fourth season, right? Fourth season left off.
Right.
We know that Iris and Barry's future daughter is there, and she might fuck up the timeline because it's the fucking Flash, and literally stepping the wrong way will fuck up the timeline. So, not too much of a shock there. The villain was revealed, but what's his name?
Some guy with a mask.
Cicada.
Chikada, Ninkata.
Yeah, I mean, it might be
Just
another
Eagles.
Thinker situation where it's just an obscure Flash villain who ends up becoming one of the better ones. Yeah, it might be cool.
Yeah, you see like Red Lightning at the end. I don't know if that's him or Reverse Flash. If this turns out to be another speedster, it's just,
No, it's not going to be.
like whatever, man.
There's no way it's going to be another speedster. Like they did that 3 seasons in a row. I think they're done with that for now.
Yeah. The story of this villain is he believes, since he received his powers, I forgot what they are, from a lightning bolt, that him and the Flash are inextricably connected, and that in order to carry out his destiny, he must go back and kill everyone that the Flash has ever saved.
Okay, so DC.
Pretty dumb.
Well, here, let me read the official description by DC TV. DC describes him as a grizzled, blue-collar everyman whose family has been torn apart by metahumans. Cicada now seeks to exterminate the epidemic, one metahuman at a time. Dun dun dun.
Alright, so that's a bit different from the comic version.
So, I mean, that doesn't tell us much. It's just another I guess he's not a metahuman, right? I mean, I think he kind of has to be, but whatever. So he's just another guy who's pissed off at the Flash for some reason.
Yeah, because that's always the story.
It's literally the motivation of every villain in the Flash. But yeah. So the other thing I really want to touch upon before we head out here, Young Justice. So I know you never really kept up with it, but
Right.
first 2 seasons were fucking amazing. Like it's sort of like Teen Titans for an older generation in the sense that it follows this team of young superheroes who are actually a really compelling cast of characters. Kid Flash, Robin, Aqualad are some of the main ones. And, the second season has this whole caper where Aqualad turned evil. And Robin is now Nightwing and leading the team, and Batman wants him to join the Justice League, but he won't, and yada yada yada. Kid Flash's girlfriend gets killed, and it's like really heavy stuff for a kid's cartoon, and it all flows really well. It's all just an incredible show. So I can't say enough. Watch this shit.
I will say I haven't watched it not because I don't want to watch it. It's just because I think it aired all on Cartoon Network, and I just don't keep up with Cartoon Network. So
I mean, it was on
Netflix
for a while, but Netflix is kind of addicted
you're right.
to DC.
I'll have to pick it up.
Yeah, just to go over the season 3 trailer right now. I know you didn't watch it. So it's mostly a recap of the end of the second season, and without going too in depth with it, this isn't really a spoiler. Kid Flash dies, or quote unquote dies, at the end of Young Justice. Like, I don't think anyone actually thinks he's dead, but just the way they sort of leave it hanging, it sort of implied that something else happened to him. Like, there's no
Which Kid Flash is this? Is this
Wally West.
Yeah. All right.
And Bart Allen takes over the mantle, like, the second he dies, quote unquote.
Wait, which Wally West?
White Wally West. Red Ginger Wally West, yeah. So, the season trailer sort of recaps the entire second season and really focuses hard on that. So that makes me think he's going to come back, like, right away as soon as season 3 picks up. The other thing it really focuses on, like a major arc of the second season, was that metagenes are sort of embedded throughout certain members of society, and anyone can basically become a metahuman if they have this gene that's genetically passed down to people. So
X-Men, anyone?
Yeah, and the other big reveal from the end of season 2 was that Darkseid and Vandal Savage are sort of in league with each other, and
that's a good alliance.
No, it's a cool partnership, and it has some, like, that was literally the last frame of the last scene of season 2, and it was just shocking that that's where they left off on. And so season 3 sort of it's implied that they're focusing on this. Metahumans are, like, anyone could become a metahuman, and metahumans are so feared by the public that like people are capturing these. Yeah, it's
or heroes,
sort of. Yeah, sort of. So yeah, that's basically where we're at. Yeah. It doesn't tell us too much, and it wasn't really the best trailer just because it leaves a lot of questions out in the air. Leaves a lot of questions unanswered. So it's more of a teaser than a trailer. That's probably the best way to describe it. Anything else?
Honorable mention, Legends season, I think, 4 now.
Yeah.
Really, only thing to note is Constantine is going to be regular, but we already knew that.
Oh, I actually saw a show last week. I went to go see Hello Dolly in New York, and for anyone who doesn't know, I live literally like 40 minutes away from the city.
Depending on traffic.
So, weirdly enough, I bought tickets like half priced at a ticket booth right outside the theater, like a couple hours before the show started. So Hello Dolly with Bernadette Peters as Dolly. The male lead, which I didn't know until I sat down, was played by Victor Garber.
How about that?
And he was fucking amazing in it. Like, he stole the show. I forget the.
For those who don't know, he was
he was Professor
Stein.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's just a treasure. Like, he's just such an incredible actor. He's amazing in everything. They actually switched out the cast, like, since I saw it, so I'm so happy I got to see it while I did. And what else can I say? Victor Garber's amazing. Yeah. So, anything else? We good?
I think that about does it for DC.
Okay, so there is going to be a part 2 of this. I'm sure if you keep this playing till the end, it'll flow into it nicely. If not, search San Diego Comic-Con Part 2, Utterly Nonsense. Just, visit our channel, subscribe for updates.
Yeah. Do remember, Utterly Nonsense is not just a podcast channel on YouTube. We also have comedy sketches in the digital format. Yeah. And we have View on the Street, which is Eric and his cameraman get a mic and just go annoy people with some trick questions and weird games.
Yeah. And, it goes without saying, check us out on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Anywhere you get podcasts.
Yeah. Spreaker.
We're spreading fast.
iTunes. Not too much else to say. I'm CJ DeLeo, joined as always by John Keggs. This is Utterly Nonsense. Cue that 8-bit music.
Stay tuned for part 2.